Moritz, and it's a pleasure to be here at a conference on EU law and AI. So that's a great starter. So I'm going to talk about how the AI Act evolved from the political negotiations to enforcement, and how we at the AI office are putting these general purpose AI rules into practice. First, I'm going to talk about how we got here. So essentially how during the historic political context, these rules were shaped. Then it's going to be about how we're headed, so how the AI office is now, over the next years, going to set up the AI Act implementation that actually ensures safety, transparency, and accountability for general purpose AI providers. And then we're going to talk about how one can shape what's coming up next. So any expert, any stakeholder, how you can get involved with our work. So first, how we got here. Quick recap. I know many of you now know the AI Act probably by heart, but for this talk, it's going to be important to be aware that while this conference focuses on transformative AI, the AI Act has various other parts, right? So general purpose AI is integrated in a value chain from models to systems, and the AI Act governs this entire value chain. So the idea is to enact trust along the value chain, while today's talk will focus on general purpose AI models. You've heard a lot about how there are transparency and copyright related rules, and then for the few most advanced models, they have to assess and mitigate potential systemic risks that they might cause. And now there's this beautiful code of practice where you will hear more, where you have heard a lot and hear more later today. So let's look at the timeline, how the AI Act came about. So it was, or it is, the first ever comprehensive legal framework on AI. If we look at 2019, and this is actually where it originated, because President von der Leyen at the time announced that within the first 100 days of her mandate, she would want to put forward a proposal of the AI Act, or basically to make progress towards an AI Act. Then 2020 to 2023 were the political negotiations between, where first the Commission put forward a white paper, and then the substantive AI Act proposal, essentially outlining how the AI Act could look like, with a focus on AI systems, so further down the value chain. In this proposal by the Commission, there was not yet much talk about general purpose AI at all. That was only introduced later when the Council and the Parliament formed their negotiating positions. I'm going to talk more about this in a bit. And then the trilogue negotiations ended in December 2023. Then 2024, 2025, the new AI office was being set up, and we were preparing for AI entry into force and now entry into application. So now from August 2025 onwards, the general purpose AI rules for providers putting these models on the EU market apply. And then 2026 onwards, so in a year's time, also the enforcement powers will apply. So let's look at this very interesting phase of the political negotiation. So as mentioned in the European Commission's proposal, general purpose AI was not explicitly mentioned. It was a focus on the intended purpose of AI systems. Then the Council started their negotiations. So the 27 member states discussed with experts, discussed with their industry, and wanted to understand how the AI Act should be adapted. First, they tabled an amendment where they had said, oh, actually general purpose AI should be clarified that general purpose AI should not be regulated under the AI Act to avoid any confusion. And then in 2022, the French had actually then proposed, oh no, wait, at least these general purpose AI models that are being integrated across the entirety of the EU, the providers of those should work together with the downstream industry. And then very interestingly, ChatGPT was released at the end of 2022. And that And here we can basically see how the technology and regulation like evolve alongside. Because with ChatGPT being out in the open, especially the European Parliament, who hasn't yet announced or published their approach, they discussed even more with the experts out there and essentially said, oh, we now see that this technology is evolving much faster than we would have expected and policymakers would have expected. So the Parliament then proposed actual risk mitigation rules, assessment and mitigation rules for general purpose AI, quite substantive obligations, in fact. And then they all got together. And interestingly, there was like suddenly this more interest from like industry, civil society and academic experts to like shape these rules. So eventually they landed at, oh, we're going to follow a two-tier approach where there's like transparency obligations for all general purpose AI models, and then only for the few most advanced models, we're going to have more substantive obligations related to risk assessment and mitigation. And it's important to keep this context in mind when thinking about the AI Act, because again, this political deal was then struck in 2023, when we only had 1 year of ChatGPT. So now in 2025, of course, we know much more, which is to the benefit of, for example, the code of practice. And here you can see that after a marathon of like 37 hours, these like final negotiations were concluded. And actually, you can see me here. And I had the pleasure to like being in the room where all of this was being discussed. So then the AI office is being set up as the Center for AI Expertise across the Union, basically acknowledging that like AI needs like a central hub to help coordinate work across the 27 member states and also to build very strong in-house expertise, not only for safeguarding AI, but also for supporting trustworthy AI development and deployment, so innovation policy and international coordination. Specifically with a view on the most powerful models, we know that it won't be enough to have good in-house expertise in the office. What is needed is a robust governance structure that also works together with the ecosystem around us. So first, we are, of course, coordinating with the 27 member states in the AI board, because although we are the ones implementing and enforcing the rules for general purpose AI, of course, we're like in close exchange with the 27 member states. We're currently setting up a scientific panel where academic, scientific experts can get involved to basically be very close to the AI office and in helping us shape how we enforce general purpose AI rules through their technical expertise, but also risk-specific expertise, for example. And then other stakeholders can get involved in the advisory forum, so also for civil society organizations and the like, to basically be on like topic specifics, on specific topics to engage with us. And we're also setting up, for example, specific to evaluations, a network of evaluators, basically bringing together the international community of third-party evaluators. Now, since August, the industry providing general purpose AI models to the market have to follow the rules that we're set up. The last year of our work was very much dedicated to making sure that everything is in place for that moment in time. There's a lot of discussions also around other parts of the AI Act, whether a stop the clock is necessary. So other parts of the AI Act have been unfortunately delayed. So it was extremely important to get this in place. So we published guidelines that clarify the scope of who must follow the rules on general purpose AI. Then the code of practice is this voluntary tool that spells out how you could comply with it. And then now industry has the option to just directly get in touch with us. Systemic risk-related model providers have to notify us, so we're now getting in close contact with them. Let's look at where we're headed. So in the first year, the idea is that EU rules will advance transparency, safety, and accountability because rules apply, so industry has to follow the rules. We, as the AI office, will basically work closely together with industry to help them to bring the models into compliance. So those providers that of general purpose AI models with systemic risk, for example, based on the code of practice, if they follow that, would put forward a safety and security framework. So we at the AI office would then work closely with them to refine this, as one example. There's a variety of tasks that we will be focused on, just to give you an overview. So the legal policy and technical experts at the AI office are working across the following over the next year. So first, it will be crucial to detail out the relevant processes and the key aspects of the AI Act. So this is also for the lawyers in the room. For example, the legal procedures, implementing acts, delegated acts, all that you have found in the AI Act. We're at the same time deepening our capacity in, for example, risk management, model evaluations across the specific risks that are being put out in the risk taxonomy of the code of practice. We're also monitoring the specific tech and market trends to understand how we have to adapt how we're enforcing general purpose AI rules. And as mentioned, we're setting up the respective governance structures. We're then engaging directly with providers to help them bring the models into compliance. And we're also offering our technical expertise on these cutting-edge AI developments to member states or other commission initiatives. Basically, now understand even better that AI might be transformative. Advanced AI is shaping our economy and our society. So they're getting in touch with us to better understand what are the developments and how they could address those. We're also fostering international cooperation and governance on AI. So, for example, related specifically to general purpose AI, we're engaging in the international network of AI safety institutes, for example, engaging in joint testing exercises. Then the second year starts when we, as the AI office, will have enforcement powers that will then enter into application in August 2026. So that means in the first year, we'll gather a lot of insights into how different providers interact with us, to what extent they're willing to engage, and we will see if they follow the rules or not. And then the enforcement powers allow us to request information, conduct evaluations into their models, request measures from providers, for example, implementing certain risk mitigation models or recalling even the model from the market, and to impose fines. So you see this staged and proportionate approach that the Commission is taking there. Let's take a look at how one can shape what's coming up next. Quick zoom out is that as mentioned before, the AI office is not only looking into safeguarding AI through the general purpose AI rules in the AI Act, but the perspective is much bigger. So here we see a quote from our President von der Leyen at the AI Action Summit in Paris in February 2022, where she said that ever more powerful models have been released on the market, so acknowledging this trend, and that some expect that those models will approach human reasoning within a year's time. She does talk about that there's consensus that AI will or should be safe, and this is part of what the AI is contributing to. But also there needs to be a vision of where we want AI to take us, so that this European way of how AI can be a force for good can actually be implemented. And so all of this is essentially broader than the particular AI implementation. So in order to shape what's coming up next in the AI Act and also other parts, one can work with us at the AI office, and I know that some of you are interested in that. We're recruiting across a variety of talents, including with legal background. So for interest and work opportunities, you can express your interest or sign up to receive updates via this webpage that you see there. But also in addition, it will be extremely relevant to like build capacity in the ecosystem around EU AI governance for general purpose AI. And so in direct interaction with us, there's, as mentioned, a scientific panel, advisory forum, network of evaluators, but we're also giving regular opportunity for the ecosystem to engage with us in consultations or setting up expert panels. So this all together should basically help us to build a successful regulatory regime in Europe that incorporates really the cutting-edge, state-of-the-art practices to safeguard general purpose AI. Thank you very much.